Hi there, and this is an e-commerce email marketing tutorial. So this is if you have an e-commerce store and you're just curious about email marketing and how it will fit into your marketing overall. This is the video for you. So stick around and stay tuned to the end to find out how to use email yourself. So let's get into it. So essentially, for email, if done with care, consistency and high quality, email should be making a third of your store's revenue. Now, this may seem like quite a lot. A lot of the clients that we take on don't really believe it, quite frankly, that it should be that high. But then obviously once we work together for a couple of months, they see that we can hit these numbers. It's obviously it makes a lot more sense. But yeah, email is not in any way a dead channel or anything like that, and it should be making up a good chunk of your revenue. So this will be from a split of flows and campaigns, and a healthy split would typically look like 15% of your total revenue, and this is your total store's revenue from flows, and then around 15% total revenue from campaigns as well. So basically a 30% split, and then split that 50-50 down the middle. But of course, it could also be fine if you go either way, and maybe you make 70% from flows and 30% from campaigns. That's also okay. Just means a little bit more work could be done on the campaign side. So core flows and core campaigns will make up the majority of that 30% revenue, but advanced flows and campaign segments will generate even more sales for you. So 30% and beyond, essentially. So what are core flows and campaigns? If you've seen any of my other videos, I'm sure you know already what these are, but if not, basically a core flow is an automated sequence of emails sent to a subscriber, and it's based off of common actions that they take on your store, and the fact that they're common actions makes them part of the core flow, essentially, because we're trying to get the essential structures down. So whether this be someone joins your email list, whether it is someone adds to a cart, like adds a product to cart but they don't buy, or maybe they even place an order, okay? There are flows that will be sent based off of these actions, and then potentially even the same trigger could be used in various flows, but the time delay may be different for them. So core flows, that's an overview of that. And the core campaigns is essentially just an email that is sent to a specific segment of your whole email list. So, VIP, maybe a 90-day engaged, maybe a past purchaser. All of these are segments of your email list that you can email separately. So core campaigns, they drive the wheels of the revenue generating engine. That's kind of how you could look at it. I'll go into a bit more detail about how that makes sense in a moment. And core flows ensure that anyone who was going to buy will buy. So let's just say these again. Core campaigns will drive the wheels of the revenue generating engine, and flows will ensure anyone who is going to buy will buy. Okay, so no one who potentially was going to buy will be on the fence, because the flows will make sure that everyone is getting lots of follow-ups, lots of reminders. So unless people aren't interested, they're going to buy eventually. So the flow campaign relationship and why this is even important. So email campaigns, how they work is they will send traffic to the flows, okay, which are, as I said, triggered by certain actions that a subscriber will take on your site. So this does mean that flows should be in place first. If you have no email set up or anything on your store, and say you're making 50K a month in revenue and you have no email set up or anything, first step would be getting those flows in place. Okay, so the reason why is because a campaign sent without core flows in place will not have the same weight as one sent with the core flows in place. So to kind of give you an explanation as to what I mean by that, let's check out this example. So as you see here, if a subscriber clicks a link in a campaign, maybe it's like a bestseller campaign, They click the link to the product. They go to the product page on your site. And obviously in variation 1, it would just be that they purchase. Okay, that could very likely happen. And obviously that would be great. But if they don't purchase, which will be more likely, to be honest, because even if you're having a very good placed order rate, it's going to be a fraction of all the people that click. Okay, so obviously most of them won't purchase, and obviously if you have a browse abandonment flow in place, obviously anyone who doesn't purchase, you can see that they will be sent a browse abandonment email, and then assuming that you get good clicks on this email, which you should be getting from testing and whatnot, and 3% is pretty conservative. Of the people that don't purchase, 3% of them plus, preferably 5% or even higher, will purchase. Okay, so obviously if we're dealing with small numbers here, it's not going to make a difference, or not a huge difference. But if you're having lots and lots of people going through these, clicking through these links and purchasing and not purchasing, it makes sense to have these in place. Versus if you were to say the alternative, right, which is the same scenario, they click a link, they view a product, and they purchase, of course, could happen, or they don't purchase. As you'll see there, just nothing will happen. Okay, like they'll view the product, they won't purchase, and then that's just it. So unless they remember to look again, which is unlikely, they won't buy that product from you. People are busy, people just forget. Unless they're really interested in buying, they're not going to buy unless they get a notification to remind them. Typically, a browse abandonment flow will have maybe 2 emails. So they will get an email. If they don't buy again, they will then get a second email. And then again, obviously that could potentially lead to more sales there. So yeah, as you see, if you send a campaign and you don't have flows in place, obviously you're just missing out on potential sales. And quite frankly, this is just one flow. Bear in mind there are 10 core flows, okay, and this is just one example. Obviously if you're sending out campaigns and people add to cart and don't buy, again, an add to cart, abandoned cart flow would be triggered. But if that isn't in place, then again, none of those things will happen. So hopefully this kind of portrays a little bit about the relationship between the two, and why it's important to have the flows in place first, and then to do the campaigns so that there is something to populate the flows. So as I say, this is why the core email flows need to be in place first before you send any campaigns. In our experience, this works better, and as I've shown in this example, you can see why we do that as well. So if there were only core flows, okay, like say hypothetically, if you're, let me just move this microphone. If there were only core flows and no campaigns being sent to your subscribers, you would need to have, essentially you'd need to have loads of new site visitors, whether this be with paid ads or organic methods like influencers. You would need to have lots of new site visitors to drive that 30% of revenue from flows only. Obviously, if you're not sending any campaigns out, it's going to be tough to get traffic to your flows unless you have massive ad campaign, which is going to cost you lots of money, or you maybe have influencer campaigns running, but again, it's going to cost you money because you have to pay them and send out free products and whatnot. So yeah, as you see, having only core flows also doesn't really work because there's nothing to populate these flows unless the store is doing super well, as I say. So core flows will drive most of the flow revenue, but advanced flows will drive that additional 5% or so from the flows. And a side note on this, in my opinion, from our experience, the advanced flows are not needed until your store is making like around $250K a year plus. If it's less than that, I would say just focus more on sending more campaigns and having those core flows in place from there. So a little bit about what advanced flows are, just to kind of touch on that. They're basically just additional flows besides the core flows that will pick up extra sales with unique triggers. So for example, these are some of the ones that we will send. We use a lot of tagging flows. So this could be, maybe a VIP for your store is someone who spent $500, okay, with the store. Maybe it's if they've placed 3 orders or more. Maybe it's if they have bought a certain amount of times in a certain amount of time, potentially. Whatever your category to tag a VIP, this is a flow that we use a lot. So once they set off that trigger, whatever that is, they will get an email saying welcome to the VIP club, something like that, maybe a discount. And we find that this does really well because all these people are super engaged anyway. So if you give them a specific email, they're very likely to want to just go ahead and purchase. So that's a really great one to try. Category interest flows, again, pretty similar. Maybe someone, maybe you have a skincare store and someone clicks on like face wash or like face products, but they don't really click on anything else. You could you could create an interest flow based off people that click on just like the face washes, for example, right? And obviously this is just more advanced. It's not necessarily needed unless you're at a certain level, but it's useful to do when you're, as I say, when you're at that 250K a year plus mark. Gender flow is also one to try. So maybe you have a fashion store and you have men and women products. Again, if someone clicks on a kind of men's button in an email to check out the men's, you could add them to this flow, and you could send them, men-related products, or vice versa, women-related emails. And then the birthday flow is pretty obvious. Once it's someone's birthday, you can send them an email, maybe a discount, something like that, just to get that sale there as well. So yeah, there's some examples of more advanced flows that you could try, but again, not needed for potentially the majority of stores, but very useful if you're at a certain level. So essentially, just to sum up, the campaigns are the best way to use your email list to drive consistent traffic to your store's flows. And why is it the best? Well, it's free, first of all. Obviously, if you have a list of 20K subscribers, you can email this list and it's free, okay? And it's also really good because you own the list. So if anything happens to your website, or if anything happens to your business in general, or your domain, or anything like this, you have the list separate, so you can then continue to use that and always make sales. So yeah, campaigns along with the 4 flows, as we can sort of see here, really is the best way to go. And some core campaign examples really quickly are things like bestseller campaigns, new collections. Maybe you have user content that you'd like to post about. Maybe you want to let the subscribers know about brand values. Maybe you support a charity. Maybe you give a percentage of your revenue to a cause, something like this. Maybe you have a buy now, pay later option, refer a friend, word from an expert or influencer, any of these things. Really, really awesome campaigns to try. And so remember, flows and campaigns will get to 30% plus revenue from email. Flows only will get to less than 30% revenue, and campaigns only will get to less than 30% revenue. How much less? It depends. I mean, could you still get to like maybe 20% from just one or the other? Sure, it's possible, but it's easy money that you'll be leaving on the table. So it's best to get both of them in place and really start driving those sales for your store. So as always, if you run an e-commerce store, save yourself the headache of learning to be an email expert and apply to work with the agency below. You'll find a link in the description along with all of my socials. So please check me out on there and stay tuned because I post lots of email tips for e-commerce brands. So if you run an e-commerce store, make sure to follow me on those and give you lots of value. And yeah, hopefully that was helpful, and have a really nice day, and see you in the next video.